So, let me blow your mind. If you are someone who automatically thinks these thoughts of things don't work for me, I'm the underdog, no one is seeing my potential, things are harder for me than for others, this is just an identity you have cultivated, just like imposter syndrome. That's it. You're listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, a business and mindset coach who specializes in imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not as smart, capable, or worthy as you actually are, and that someone is going to find you out, then you've come to the right place. I went from being a struggling government worker, working my coaching business on the side, but feeling unworthy and burnt out, to making multiple six figures helping women overcome imposter syndrome so they too can sign clients, make bank, and have the business or career of their dreams. I am nothing special. I have a stuttering disability, ADHD, and I struggle with anxiety and depression. So if I can learn how to feel good enough and overcome my inner imposter, then so can you. Let's dig in. Hello, my loves. Welcome back. So, right now as you're listening to this, I am traveling home from North Carolina. I'm either at the airport or in the sky when you're listening to this. I spent a couple days in Raleigh, North Carolina, attending my coach's $1 million event. And then she held a private event for the women in her mastermind on the Sunday. And then I gallivanted in a rental car all by myself to Wilmington to see my friend Ruthie and her family. She had a baby this year. And I actually met Ruthie at a One Tree Hill convention back in 2015. Dustin and I went to Wilmington for the very first time for my very first One Tree Hill convention. And then I went to 4 more after that. And Ruthie and I kind of met on a tour of a bunch of the locations for filming. At the time, she actually lived in New Jersey with her then husband. And they ended up separating not too long after that. But her and I stayed connected in this group, in this Facebook group. And it was like a group for One Tree Hill fans who were going to the conventions, and her and I stayed connected. And then the next year in 2016, I was like, I want to go to the next one, but I think because of work, Dustin couldn't go, and Ruthie was going, and she didn't have her husband anymore, so she was like, do you want to stay with me? And I was like, sure, yeah, let me travel across to a different country and stay in a hotel with this stranger and her pit bulls, which is exactly what I did. And we became really good friends, and we ended up going to all the other conventions together. We went to a convention in Chicago in 2016. Actually, Dustin and I did go to a convention together in Montreal without Ruthie because it was in Canada, so she didn't come. But yeah, Ruthie and I have been pals since 2015. And she just had her first baby, like I said, so it was really exciting to go and see her. I'm sure when I'm recording this, I haven't gone yet, but I will make sure to do a Jill's journal and to tell you guys all about the trip, about my coach's event, and about traveling and the things that came up there. And guys, my private coaching is completely filling up. I've started with 3 new clients in the past couple of weeks, and people are ready. They are ready to take action, to stop hating themselves, to release the past experiences and old stories holding them back. So if you've been wanting to work with me, now is the time. And the only regret you'll have is not starting sooner. Literally, I had a client say to me, last month, she said, this was the best investment I have ever made in myself. I'm so grateful every day that I have made this investment. And that makes me want to cry because I remember writing that in my journal, right? Like big manifestation for me. So private coaching is for 6 months. We start with a 2-hour deep dive, get into every crevice of your business and your brain, and develop a plan for our time together so you can hit all of your juicy goals. We then get to work, meeting weekly for 6 months, and you'll have access to me over Voxer for spot coaching between calls. You get access to my entire product suite, which includes business and mindset trainings and tons of resources for launching, EFT tapping, energy management, breath work, meditations, and hypnosis tracks that aren't available to the public, and more. You can pay in full at $8,000 or there's a monthly payment plan, and you can apply at the link in my show notes. I can't wait to meet you and to change your life. Today's podcast episode was inspired by a conversation with a business friend in the DMs. This friend is very well known in the coaching space. She's a badass. She makes great money in her business. And imposter syndrome is something that comes up for her a lot. And something that's heavily associated to her imposter syndrome is what I like to call the underdog syndrome. It's this feeling of being underrated, of your potential not being seen by others, a feeling like you have to work harder than everyone else, that confidence is something you really have to work on, and you see others that have it and are baffled by how easy it comes for them. And also this is connected to that feeling of it works for everybody, but not for me. Now, it may sound a bit contradictory that your potential isn't being seen by others, because I've said that when it comes to imposter syndrome, sometimes you question yourself and your potential and underestimate what you're capable of, right? But the thing here is that if others were to recognize the potential in you or give you attention or praise, they would be validating you. And it's not so much that someone sees your potential, but rather that you're being noticed and validated. So that means that you can then allow yourself to feel good enough for a moment until your baseline beliefs and thoughts about not being good enough resurface and you're looking for that validation again. This identity of being the underdog goes hand in hand with feeling like a victim. Now, I say this lightly because in no way am I taking away from actual victimization. You guys know this, so disclaimer, when I say victim mentality, I am meaning that it feels good to evade responsibility for your life, for your healing, for your inner work. There's a part of you that craves being pitied, as hard as that is to admit, or being seen as the underdog. A part of you that doesn't want to take responsibility because you already have the idea that it's a lot of work to get the things that you want. So what do I mean by it feels good to evade responsibility? Let me give you an example. Back at the end of 2021, I was making some scaling business decisions, and my coach gave me some pretty tough feedback. DL is a really tough coach, by the way. I sulked around for weeks with the feedback that she gave me, and when I didn't get the result that I wanted, I silently blamed her. But that's because it would have felt really bad to take responsibility for my own result. It was easier for me to say it was her fault because of the feedback that she gave me, and I was already anticipating that it was going to feel bad if I took full responsibility. This feels good to our ego to be righteous and to again evade responsibility for ourselves because we want to feel good about ourselves, right? Are you following me? So, let me blow your mind. If you are someone who automatically thinks these thoughts of things don't work for me, I'm the underdog, no one is seeing my potential, things are harder for me than for others, this is just an identity you have cultivated, just like imposter syndrome. That's it. It's not the truth, just like your imposter syndrome thoughts, the I'm not good enough stories, they are not the truth. They are just what you perceive to be true. You may have always perceived yourself as the victim or as the underdog, so that is the story that you've played out. Just like how I'm the middle child, right? I'm the middle child and I have middle child syndrome. And it's almost like an identity that I am so used to playing out that when things happen, I make it mean that it's because I'm the middle child, because I'm overlooked, because I'm the odd one out, right? It's just a story I tell myself. And it is just an identity that is satisfying the beliefs you have about yourself. That victim mentality, the underdog syndrome, is just an identity that is satisfying the beliefs you have about yourself. And are you open to the fact that the story of things don't work out for me, I have to work harder than everyone else, people underestimate me? Can you acknowledge that this may be an identity and a story that keeps you safe? Because here's the thing, it is keeping you safe from disappointment. When we expect more from ourselves, when we take responsibility, this means we have to be responsible for it all. The negative feelings, the outcomes that don't go our way all the time. And this is where most of y'all get tripped up. The fear of giving our best and not getting the result that we want, the discomfort of asking yourself, how did I play a part in this? Those things are not easy. It is easier to sink back into old patterns of being the victim. It's easy to play out the same old story of things don't work out for me. This is just how it is. It's not my fault. Because the truth is, under the underdog syndrome and the victim mentality, it is still imposter syndrome. I'm not enough. It is just a protective layer that hides a deeper wound, trying haphazardly to cover it up, but still believing deep down that it's you who's not good enough, right? This was something I worked on with a client for months. Her income was increasing, she was hitting her goals, but the fear of being found out or the other shoe dropping became so much that she had constant anxiety and was overwhelmed a lot of the time. And this is because her victim/underdog identity was hitting up against her success. She was actively seeing success in hitting her goals, and it did not line up with the identity that she had of herself. So to rectify that, she just occupied herself with worrying it was going to go away. This work we do together doesn't stop when you achieve your goals. We also expand your capacity to hold your goals. We expand your capacity to hold your success, to become a successful person, and to actually have that identity of yourself. And you can do this right now. If you're listening to this, I know you have accomplishments to be proud of. I know there are things you can be proud of for yourself for doing currently or things you have done. You can't only start acknowledging yourself when you accomplish big, huge goals. The way you build the identity is by starting with right now. How is where you are right now something to celebrate? Where is the evidence in your life and or in your business that you are becoming the successful version of yourself? What success will you allow yourself to hold today that is evidence that the empowered version of you is who you really are? And where can you accept responsibility for where you are without shame? Where can you see that you've been indulging in underdog syndrome or a victim mentality and take your power back? I want you to answer this journal prompt. I am ready to take responsibility for blank. It is only when you take ownership of the things in your life that you have the power to change them. Remember that taking responsibility isn't an opportunity to shame yourself. It is to take your power back. Remember that the victim mentality or underdog syndrome are patterns of behavior, stories you've told yourself, and an identity that just feels familiar. It is not the truth. It might feel good to indulge in these stories, but it will only take you further away from your goals and the life that you truly want to live. And are you ready to drop old patterns and self-sabotaging behaviors, step into this new identity and reach the goals that you have for yourself? Sign the clients, make the money, have an actual life and business that you love. I'm taking on private clients and I want you to be one of them. You can apply now at the link in my show notes. This is a 6-month coaching container that is $8,000 USD pay in full with a payment plan option. And this is my current rate. It will be going up. Spots are limited. I love you. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Head to the show notes to find out how you can take this work deeper with me in one-to-one coaching or in the From Imposter to Empowered group program. In the show notes, you'll also find a free 3-day challenge to start the process of overcoming your inner imposter. And once you're done with all of that, screenshot this episode and share it on Instagram, tagging me at your coach Jill so we can connect. See you next time.